My buttons are being weird, Miss Wright. Hold on one second.
It's okay. My whole thing started being very slow. The internet wizard slowed everything down. Okay, so first we want to welcome you to 8th grade. This is the last year that your classes don't count for high school credit unless you are taking physical science with Miss Kudrowski or Algebra 1 with Miss Gentry. So please make sure that if you're in those high school classes, that you're really careful because the GPA for those two classes will start counting towards high school. And it's easy to get into a hole that's hard to dig out of. So let's start with people to know. Oh, you know what, Miss Carpenter, we forgot to introduce ourselves. So I'm going to do that now. I'm Heather Wright. I'm the principal at Arkansas Arts Academy. My art is cross-stitching. I love to take blank slabs of fabric and turn them into colorful works of art with thread. It's also the only task that requires my entire concentration, so it forces me to think about something other than school, which is good for me. I have been here, this is the start of my 4th year as principal. But prior to that, I was the science teacher on campus, and I taught biology, chemistry, physics, environmental science, health. I taught East Lab for a while. So if there was a science, I've taught it, and I really enjoy being a part of this community. Ms. Carpenter, do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Rachel Carpenter. I'm the assistant principal. A few of you I got to teach at the K6 campus when I was the music and piano teacher. So I'm so excited to have you up here at the high school campus. I'm an alum of the school as well. I graduated in 2010. Miss Wright was my science teacher back when she was still a teacher and I was a student. So I love this school. I think it's amazing. I'm so glad you guys are on this journey with us. I know this year is going to be a little bit weird, but we're going to make it through it together. And if you couldn't tell from my background, I'm a musician.
Miss Thomas is our new 7-9 counselor. She's joining us this year. She was the intern last year, so you may have seen her working with Mr. Clark around the building. Mr. Clark, unfortunately, had to move with his family. They're moving to Western Tennessee, but Miss Thomas is a great fit for the campus. She already knows how our campus functions and what makes Arkansas Arts Academy special. Miss Morgan is our campus nurse. She works closely with Catherine Milligan at the campus to make sure that we are all safe and taken care of. Your teachers, the primary teachers for 8th grade are Miss Thomas Scott, who's your English teacher. Mr. Hobbs Taper is your math teacher if you have pre-algebra. And then Miss Gentry is your teacher if you have Algebra 1. Miss Jatan is the science and health teacher that most of you have. And again, if you have physical science for high school credit, you'll have Miss Kudrowski. And Mr. Deppner is the history teacher for 8th grade. Next slide, Rachel. So these are some of the things that the counselors can help with even when you're virtual. So they help with social emotional learning and development. They will be running small group sessions, both virtually and in person, to work on peer-to-peer relationships and how to be a kind human being and be compassionate with others. They also work on college and career preparation. We started the Duke Tips program, and that's something that will continue this next year. So 7th and 8th graders with high scores on standardized tests can join the Duke Tips program, take the ACT for the first time their 7th or 8th grade year, and then get personalized help on how to raise that score. They're also available to help with ACT, test prep, and other things just for students who are not in that program. They're there for academic support. So if you're struggling in a class, you can approach them and they can help you find a peer tutor who might be able to help, or help you reach out to a teacher who can help you with extra support as well. Counselors will be sharing a link at the beginning of school that you can use to schedule one-on-one video meetings anytime that you think that you need to speak with a counselor. All right, next slide. And please feel free to stop us and ask questions or, oh wait, Rachel, they can't see your slides. Can you see them now? Awesome. Okay, so don't do full screen, Rachel. Okay, so these are things that counselors do not do. So they will not tell you what to do. So if you come in and you're trying to make a decision between whether you want to take a music class or a visual art class because you like both, they're not going to tell you which decision to make. They're going to help you. They'll ask questions that will help you come to that decision on your own. They're not going to judge your ideas, your beliefs, or the decisions that you've made. They won't share what you've disclosed with them, with two exceptions. If you have told them something that indicates that you might harm yourself or that you might harm someone else, they are required by law to disclose that information. So those are the two cases where they will be making sure that you are safe and that others are safe. They don't handle discipline issues. That's Ms. Carpenter and I. They don't do long-term in-depth therapy. So if that's something that they think that a student might benefit from, they'll communicate with parents about how to get that set up. They do not clinically diagnose any mental health issues, and nor do they claim to be an expert in all areas. Are there any questions about counselors and what you can talk to counselors about? Any of that? Okay, next slide, Rachel. So this is the Bell schedule for 2020. 7th and 8th grade students have an A-B block schedule with 4 classes and an advisory each day. So the campus opens at 7:30 this year. That's the earliest that students can be dropped off because that's the earliest that we will have adults ready for screening, for temperature screening. The first class starts at 8:30 on A days, that's your first hour class, and on B days, that's your 5th hour class. After that, you have a 45-minute advisory, and then you have your second period class, and that's when lunch happens. This year we'll be taking, or this quarter, we'll be taking small groups into the cafeteria at a time to get your lunch. You'll have a list of 4 options. There's a nacho bar every day. There's pizza every day. There's chicken sandwiches or cheeseburgers every day. And then there's always a 4th option that's a more traditional lunch option like chicken nuggets and green beans or mashed potatoes and meatloaf, things like that. So you'll tell the lunch ladies what you want in your box. They'll put everything in and then they'll hand it directly to you. And then you'll take that lunch back to your assigned seat, either in the PAC, the Commons, or actually all 8th graders are in the PAC, right, Rachel? Yes, so you'll take your lunch back to your seat, you'll eat your lunch at your seat, and then clean up when you're done. In a normal schedule, you would have exactly 30 minutes to get that lunch and eat it. So this year, a benefit of eating at your desk and not in the cafeteria means you can take longer than 30 minutes if you want to eat your lunch and enjoy it. Just be aware of when your teacher is going to be coming to pick you up so that you have your lunch eaten before then. After that lunch period, second period time block, you have your 3rd period class, and then your last class of the day is from 2:25 to 3:50. At 3:50 is when the school day is over. 8th graders are required to take English, a math class, social studies. You guys have Arkansas history embedded in your U.S. history class, and then you're required to take a science, and every Arkansas Arts Academy student must take at least 2 arts classes. That leaves you with a period and a half to fill with other electives. PE is required for 8th graders by the state of Arkansas if you're not involved in another physical activity class. So if you have dance or you play on a basketball team or on a soccer team, you don't have to be scheduled for PE. Virtual students, we do ask that you follow that Bell schedule as well, if at all possible, because that's going to give you the opportunity to participate in live class discussions, to get your questions answered directly by the teacher during your class time. Are there any questions about the schedule? We did have a question, will there be tables in the PAC or desks? There are desks in the PAC. So basically, we took half of the desks out of all of the classrooms so that there are no more than 15 desks in any classroom. And we took those extras and put them in the 3 large study hall areas to provide seating for students to make sure we can socially distance during the day. Okay, so this is what the week looks like this quarter. So Mondays and Thursdays are always A days, and Tuesdays and Fridays are always B days. That Wednesday day is a catch-up day or an independent work day. You may have new assignments from your teachers, but they're going to be independent assignments. And that's the day that teachers are going to be working on their virtual activities and making sure that virtual students are good to go. So if you've chosen to be here 100% every day and you want to keep your student home on Wednesday, that is possible. You just have to send me a note that says, hey, we're going to keep our kid home on Wednesday, and I'll add them to the list of kids that we won't expect. If you are here on Wednesday, you're still going to have the opportunity to sign up to go on a walk with the PE teacher, to sign up for sunshine breaks in the courtyard with Ms. Carpenter and I. We're going to do like stay at your desk, socially distanced dance parties every once in a while. So we're going to add in some fun things on Wednesdays for those students who are here. So you're not just going to be sitting in your desk the whole time. Are there any questions about the week layout for right now? Okay, how do they sign up for the PE walks, etc.? So we have a program called RTI Scheduler. Your kids should be familiar with it if they were here last year. So that's how we signed up for advisory last year. This year, they'll be able to, the teachers will be using it all day. So they can tell a kid, this is the 40 minutes that I'm going to come get you, or this is the hour and 25 minutes that I'm going to come get you that you'll be in my classroom. And then anytime that's open that a teacher hasn't asked for them, they can sign up to go on a walk for PE or sign up for a sunshine break or any of those things. And it'll also help us know when we need to take them to lunch. So RTI Scheduler is how we will do all of that. Yes, the new kids will learn how to use RTI Scheduler. It's super, super user-friendly. And they will have the opportunity to learn how to use that. That's one of the things that we'll cover the first day of school. Are there any other questions? Okay, next slide, Ms. Carpenter. So let's talk a little bit about virtual classroom guidelines. We do ask that students either post a picture of themselves or have their cameras on for virtual learning. It's really hard as a teacher or an administrator, an educator in general, to talk to a blank screen. It's very difficult. It's hard to make that personal connection and to make sure that they are learning what they need to learn. So if at all possible, we ask that cameras are on. If a student isn't comfortable with their camera on, then we ask that it at least be a real picture of them as their avatar. Follow the school dress code. So make sure that you're not wearing a swimsuit or you're not wearing your pajamas or inappropriate pajamas. It should be something that you would be willing to walk out of your house in. Find a quiet place where you're going to be able to concentrate. So like Ms. Carpenter right now is doing a good job of concentrating with a baby who's making lots of noise behind her. That's not something that I would recommend for teenagers. So try to find a spot that's quiet. I don't recommend that spot be your bedroom because our bedrooms are escapes, right? So there's lots of stuff in our bedroom that's an easy distraction. So if you're a virtual student, try to find a quiet place that's not your bedroom where you can focus. Mute yourself when you're not speaking so we don't get a lot of background noise. Make sure that you follow your teacher's instructions for how to get attention. So you can use the raise your hand function or use the chat to ask questions, but make sure that you're using those tools. Rachel, while you switch the slide, Ms. Farini, the desks and chairs are assigned. So every seat in the school is assigned to a student. Okay, other virtual classroom guidelines. When in a class discussion, make sure you're staying on topic and using school appropriate language. In my house, we say there are no bad words, but there are words that are not appropriate for public content. So make sure that you are using words that are appropriate for public content. Pay attention and make sure you're showing respect to both your teacher and your peers. And then come ready to learn. Like make sure that you have the things that your teachers told you that you need before class starts, because otherwise you're going to be, that's an extra distraction and an extra stress, and it's going to take away from your focus on learning. So make sure you have everything that you need right there. Next slide. So let's talk extracurricular opportunities, because these are the fun things in school. So students are able to start clubs based on their interests each year. You just need an adult sponsor and a place to meet. That place will probably be a virtual place for a while. Forms are always available in August, both in the office and online for starting your own club. So these are some of the things that we already have in place. There's an art club that Miss McWilliams runs. That's part of the group that went out and did the mural in the Pea Ridge splash pad, if you saw that article. There's a STEAM club that looks at specific science, technology, and engineering projects and how that applies with art and math as well. Mr. McWilliams runs that group. There's a Lego club, so that's just a group of kids who love Legos and love to build Lego together. So they brought their own Legos when we were in school and would sit after school while a teacher was watching and put Legos together. When we went to the virtual environment, they would set up a Zoom and everyone would be sitting in their own space, but they're building together at the same time and talking together. Thespian Society is our society for actors and actresses who want to be able to compete at the state and national level. National Junior Honor Society is something that you can be invited into if your grade point average is a 3.0 or higher. The National Honor Society is for grades 10 and up. So once you get to the end of your 9th grade year, you can be invited as a sophomore. Student Council is a group of students who listen to their peers. They coordinate with me on things that they would like to change around the school. They're part of the reason that we have more vegetarian options in the cafeteria and also have the ability to start clubs when they want to. They also do all of the social events for students. Knitting Club was just a group of kids that like to knit together. There's a gardening club that takes care of the gardens on campus. There's a Dungeons and Dragons group. There's a Spirit Squad that goes out and cheers at basketball games. You name it, and you can create it. You just have to find an adult who's willing to supervise you and make sure that you're being safe. So those are things that have existed in the past. And again, this isn't even a full list. It would take several slides to list them all. So if you have a group of 4 or 5 people and you all are really, really interested in anime or in show tunes and musicals, and you want to have a musical group, you can start that group. You just have to have an adult who's willing to be in the room with you while you're watching those old musicals or singing the music yourself. So we like to make sure that kids are available. To find a full list of the clubs, we publish that in the 1st or 2nd week of September. So last year's list is still on the website right now. Those are all the clubs that existed last year. This year's list will be published in the 1st or 2nd week of September after Back to School Bash. So Back to School Bash is a tradition that is in, let's see, I did the first one as the Student Council sponsor in 2008. So for the past 12 years, we've had an event where every club can showcase what it is that they do and allow other students to join them. This year, one of Student Council's first challenges will be to figure out how to do that virtually, because obviously we can't do it the way we normally would, which is with students everywhere and loud music playing. So after we do that, we wait for the first couple of weeks. So if you have a club you want to start, the first couple of weeks, you turn in that application. And then Student Council will talk to you about how you're going to showcase your club virtually so that other students can join. Are there any questions about any other questions about clubs? Okay, next slide. So this is the Lincoln Learning demo information. I think a few of the 8th grade teachers, I know Mr. Tan plans on using Lincoln Learning. And I think there are a couple of others who would like to use it. If you would like to be able to log on and see how that functions as a student, you can take this information down. I think there's a limit of how many people can use it at a time. So if you try and it doesn't work, wait an hour and try again. But it will take you to a platform that will show you the student classes and what it would look like from the student side. There are a variety of classes, so there are some really elementary level classes and then some middle school and high school classes. So there's a variety there that you can explore and see how they work. Are there any questions about Lincoln Learning or how to access the demo? Okay, next slide, Rachel. All right, are there any additional questions? Ms. Riley, you asked how the kids are going to socially distance control droplet spread and how choir will be done virtually. Those are really good questions for Rebecca Adler. I know that she has plans for face masks and shields, and then the guidance from the state is that students have to be 12 feet apart, which will really limit how many students she can have in the room at a time, or they can practice outside. So I know Rebecca is working through those logistics right now, and then as well as how virtual students will be joining the choir. Okay, so the first day drop-off starts at 7:30. And again, this year, when you arrive, we will take your student's temperature and just ask, we'll just say, hey, do you think you've come in contact with anyone who has coronavirus? And if the answer is no, and you have a temperature below 99.8, then you get out of the car and you go inside. If you want to grab breakfast, you can grab breakfast from the cafeteria and then take it to your desk. And then at 8:30 is when classes start. So at 8:30 is when teachers will be coming to retrieve that first group of students that they want to see in their classrooms. And then most teachers are choosing to break their classes of 25 to 28 into two groups who will meet in person for 40 minutes. And then the second 40 minutes will be independent work. So either you'll be in that first group that's going to class to start with your teacher in person, or you will have independent work to start with, and then you'll be meeting in person with your teacher in the second 40 minutes. The kids will meet their teacher, so you will get to meet your advisory teacher on Friday when you come in to pick up your Chromebook. That's who has your Chromebooks. So on Monday, the 17th, you should get an email from your advisory teacher with times available that you can come in to pick up your Chromebook, your planner, and the nameplates that are going to go in your vehicle for car pickup. So you'll get to meet that advisor. All of the pictures of teachers are on the website, so you can see their pictures. And then those teachers will come in and they'll pick up students and then do traditional first day of class things, introductions and that kind of thing on the first day of school. Some of our teams, I think the 7th and 8th grade team, are thinking about doing video introductions that they can post. As far as club sponsors, an adult is welcome to sponsor a club. It can be an employee or a parent. We just need a cleared background check from parents to make sure that everyone's safe. Right now, we have no plans to hold in-person concerts in the Performing Arts Center. That's too many people in the space for us to do that right now, and we don't have clearance from the state to have large concerts like that. So we're hoping that we can either find an outdoor venue. They're building a very nice outdoor amphitheater just a couple of blocks down in downtown Rogers, or that we get to a point where we're allowed to go into phase 3 and have a little bit normal life. Mr. Clark had a peer ambassador group. Will that program continue with the new counselor? Yes, the student peer ambassador group will continue, and those kids will continue to be the first group of students that new students meet. Their job is to make sure that every student feels connected and comfortable and welcome on our campus. And then they meet with me as well and learn some leadership skills. If you would like access to eSchool, if you don't know how to access it yet, you are welcome to email Brendan Currington. So his email I'm going to put in the chat. He is my administrative assistant, and he can give you that information. He just pulls it out of eSchool and sends it to you. Students, it's your student email address and your user ID is your password. For adults, it's whatever email address we have on file to contact with you, and then we set up a temporary password that you will have to change after your first login. Yes, and the tech team is Victor Craig and Joan Miller. Their emails are also in the chat, so you're welcome to email them for any help with email or with eSchool as well. Mr. Gum, we are planning on having bus service this year. You should have already talked to Ms. Carpenter to confirm your spaces.
Mr. Gum, we didn't hear that. There we go. Now he's unmuted.
Okay, sorry. My speakers on the laptop aren't working, so I had to dial in to be able to hear you guys. So anyway, love this virtual stuff. I think we did a Google form.
If there's a specific question about the bus, you're welcome to email Ms. Carpenter as well.
Yep.
I can tell you.
Will do. That's fine.
She's the lady in charge of the big yellow buses this year. All right, are there any other questions? Anything else that anyone would like to know? Yes, so for students who are here, we'll show them where their desk is that first morning, and then they'll wait there until a teacher comes and calls their name and asks for them. Yes, that is true. You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, wait. Yes, so well, they won't have instructions on eSchool, they'll have instructions in Google Classroom. So if you are blended and your first day is a virtual day, so you're coming on Thursday, Friday instead of Monday, Tuesday, you need to make sure that you can access your email. And your email, you will have invitations on how to join your Google Classroom in your email account, and there will be assignments waiting for you in Google Classroom. When do they come to pick up Chromebooks? That's August 21st, and your teacher will send you a sign up for sometime between 10 and 5, your advisory teacher. If that doesn't work for you, you can email me and we will find another time that does. You are allowed to email teachers before the school year begins and ask questions. They will be on campus starting on the 17th. So right now you can email and you may or may not get an answer, but starting the 17th, they are back on contract and available between 8 and 4 every day. Okay, Ms. Carpenter and I are going to hang out and answer any other questions that may come up. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. We're so excited about the new school year starting. It is going to be a unique year for sure. And we do ask, for patience because this is a new thing for everybody. Remember that masks have to be worn when you're in the building, unless you're in a room with less than 10 people and more than 6 feet apart, which won't happen very often. If you do need a mask break, you're welcome to ask to step out in the hallway for a few minutes or to take a sunshine break with Ms. Carpenter and I and sit in the courtyard without your mask being at least 6 feet away from each other. So please make sure that you have those. If you don't have a mask, we will have plenty on campus for you. In fact, we have some pretty cool black ones with Arkansas Arts Academy logos. So we look forward to seeing you all. Students are allowed to bring masks from home if they prefer. They can't be mesh masks, and it feels silly to say that, but there are some other districts that are having difficulties. So they do need to be actual fabric and not mesh, covering their nose and mouth. And the Chromebook pickup is for all students on the 21st. All right, thank you so much. Ms. Carpenter and I will hang out for a while if you have other questions. And the presentation will be posted online so that other 8th graders can see it. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks.